you. Okay, the boat is coming.
3 a.m. A little island harbour in the north of Vietnam. An international team of animal conservationists on its way to the protected area of one of the rarest species on Earth.
In Andad cave, they also saw the langur.
When they saw them? When? In the morning or?
In the morning.
Yesterday morning?
Yeah.
They came to the cave, the two females.
Two female.
Apparently, yeah.
The day before, some rangers spotted the endangered animals. A stroke of luck, because there are barely 60 individuals of their kind left. They only live here, in the jagged island world of the Ha Long Bay, the golden-headed langur, recently called Kappa langur.
We are ready for takeoff?
Ready to go.
Anh ơi, lên anh.
Còn ai nữa?
Let's go.
Scientists from Germany, the United States and Australia hope to get a glimpse of the animals themselves.
It was a real stroke of luck. They could just as well have decided last night to go to a different cave. In that case, we wouldn't have seen them at all this morning. For the monkey's well-being, it doesn't really matter at all whether I see them or not, but it's just good for my soul.
The scientists have a mission. They're here to ensure the survival of this species. Dawn. After a 2 hours drive, the team reaches the rangers' outpost. They live on houseboats on the edge of the protected area. Jörg Adler is head of the project. He visits the islands regularly. Talking to the rangers is part of his job, and it's also the foundation for the protection methods on site.
Go by the small boat and check the area and then come back and tell us what we are doing.
Jörg Adler and one of the rangers set out to find the monkeys. A larger group of people might cause the animals to take flight. The others can do nothing but wait. There's a call from the boat. The monkeys have been spotted. Now the others dare get closer to the animals too.
Okay, we go.
To Australian veterinaries Larry Vogelnest and Michael Lynn, this project is a special challenge. They both hold leading positions in Australian zoos and have taken several weeks' leave to join the effort to save the golden-headed langurs. They've already taken part in several field missions. But even for these experienced veterinaries, the journey into this Vietnamese island world is something special. Somewhere in the dim light of the rising sun are the last individuals of these rare monkeys. Today's only about seeing them and assessing the situation. In a few days' time, a unique resettling mission will take place to guarantee the survival of this species. Departure for the place where the langurs were spotted the night before.
Stop with it.
A unique moment. The early rise has paid off.
I think there's one big male. One male. Yeah. This male came out from the cave in the early morning when I was observing the area.
Oh, so he's the first one.
Calling.
The first one.
Wow. And then jumping here. And there
it's a bit smaller. A bit smaller, this one.
Maybe it's
shorter tail.
A male too. And there are 3, minimum. It can be a female.
Maybe. So the females have a pale patch between their
the
legs.
legs. Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to look out for that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can see it on that one.
Yeah.
Ah, they did. You can see it. Where's the other one?
Wir haben sie direkt beim Ausstieg aus der Höhle.
We caught them while they were leaving the cave.
Das ist ganz typisch.
That's typical.
Der Mann kommt zuerst.
The adult male comes out first and starts calling. I heard him calling out very early. He starts calling out loud, and it echoes through the valley. Then the females come out, or some other males, and they start eating right away. After all, they are leaf-eating monkeys. That means they have to take in energy all the time, because leaves aren't very substantial, as we all know. So that's why they start eating as soon as they come out. For half an hour or so at first, then they quickly take a nap. So now, hang on. We're very close to them now. I've hardly ever been as close to them as this, but they seem totally relaxed. From time to time there's a slight "rawr" from them, a cackling like in, "that's enough." But they're watching us, as you can see. There's always one of them looking up, but they don't feel disturbed. That's a clear sign they're not afraid of poachers. If there'd been poachers around them last year, we wouldn't have had a chance of getting this close to the monkeys. They're not stupid, after all. But because they're so relaxed, we can tell that there hasn't been any poaching here for a while. I can't say whether it's been 2 or 3 years or anything, but I do hope so. And it's a really good feeling. There's a group of 4, and we'd better make sure there's a female among them.
No female, no offspring, and no future for the golden-headed langurs. To this end, some animals have to be resettled. A few females separated themselves from the main population and then found that their way back was cut off. They're to be caught and transported back to their own kind. This tricky mission, which has been prepared for 4 years, will now be completed. On no account may the animals be harmed during the process. It's about the survival of the species. At the National Parks Administration, everything is about the langurs. Local artists are designing the conservationists' new logo.
Okay, 19, and then maybe...
Evaluation of the early morning trip. With a total population of 60, every sighting of the animals can provide important clues. Have their numbers changed? Has there been any offspring? Or, what everybody fears most, have more animals fallen prey to poachers than thought?
We remove these females from here to here. They'll be just beginning...
Jörg Adler, director of the Münster Zoological Gardens, has been working on this project in Vietnam for more than 20 years. He managed to secure financing for the long-term conservation project. This gained him and his team the trust of the locals and that of the authorities, who finally approved the resettlement project after years of hard work. For Jörg Adler, things are now coming full circle, 2 decades after he first encountered the golden-headed langurs.
Since 2000, I came here once a year, and I was very lucky, because during one of my first nights here, I saw a Katbar langur rushing past on a hilltop against the setting sun. It was more like a shadow. I always have this image in my head whenever I give a lecture. It could have been any other kind of monkey, but I knew it was a Katbar langur. The image created an atmosphere of, look at me, I'm the last of my kind. It's nonsense, of course, but it had a great symbolic value to me, this image, this first encounter with a Katbar langur. It really moved me. Unforgettable.
Jörg Adler has gathered an international team of experts that will live on Katbar for several weeks during the critical phase of the resettlement mission. Together with local helpers, every step of the mission is minutely documented. Rick Passaro is the on-site project manager. The American has been living on Katbar for 3 years. To him, saving the langurs is part of his long-term commitment.
The thing about the Katbar langur is, the unique thing really, is that this is the only place in the world they're found. And the other thing about the Katbar langur is that if we use it as a flagship species to protect all the wildlife in the forest on Katbar Island. So it's not just saving the langur, it's the symbol of saving the langur for the rest of the wildlife that occurs here on the island. So if the Katbar langur goes extinct, what will happen to the rest of the wildlife on the island? We don't know. We can only hope that the Katbar langur is keeping the future alive for the rest of the forest and wildlife on the island.
According to legend, a giant dragon, on his way to the sea, drew furrows in the land with its tail. It left behind a fairy tale world with thousands of rock islands and gave the archipelago its name, Submerging Dragon Bay. In Vietnamese, Ha Long Bay, the largest island in the south of the archipelago, Katbar, inhabited by 15,000 people and the last of the golden-headed langurs. Vietnam is a paradise of biodiversity, until now. Poaching and animal trade are a threat to many species. For some, it's already too late. The tiger has been exterminated. Many bird species have gone, and the elephant in the border area between Laos and Cambodia are threatened by extinction. The Katbar langurs are not only the last of their kind. UNESCO has made it clear. If the langurs were to disappear, this unique island world would also lose its status as World Heritage Site. This is about much more than merely a handful of monkeys. It's about the preservation of a living environment for all.
Can you still see that one in the tree here?
Yeah.
The tail hanging down?
You have to imagine that Cat Ba is a large island surrounded by many, many small islands. And in between Cat Ba and the small islands, there were mangrove forests. That's the way it was with the island Dong Kong. Mangrove forests used to connect it with Cat Ba. The two female langurs that this project is all about climbed from the main island Cat Ba to Dong Kong through the mangrove forest more than 15 years ago. It used to be very easy, but then, when they wanted to get back, the mangrove forest was gone because fishermen had cut it in the meantime. That's our big problem here, that many mangrove forests are being destroyed for shrimp farms.
Das ist unser großes Problem hier, dass sehr viele Mangroven zerstört werden für shrimps farming.
The shrimps land in the freezers of the supermarkets. Their mass breeding is causing an ecological catastrophe in Asia, which is also affecting the Cat Ba langurs.
So now they were stuck there, looking out over the main island Cat Ba, where all the others were living a good life. They couldn't get across through the water. They were trapped on the island. That's the reason we're here. We're going to try and bring them back.
There are two females capable of reproduction, probably mother and daughter. For the main island's population, they're essential for survival.
The whole reason behind this translocation is let's get these two females in contact with males so that they can reproduce. We want to increase reproduction and speed it up so that there are more langurs and more langurs in the years to come. But the other thing that people forget is we're also trying to increase genetic diversity. These two female langurs have not come in contact with these other langurs on the other side of the island ever, and so this will increase the gene pool, if you will. So those are the two main goals, and that will determine the true success of the translocation.
The goal of conservationists surrounding Jörg Adler is to capture the two isolated females on Dong Kong and take them to the main island by boat.
That means we will pin down the two monkeys trapped on this island in a prepared cave.
Months earlier, the men found a suitable cave in the middle of a steep rock face. The two females withdraw themselves in this cave every night, as photo traps have proven. The cave is prepared with a net, while all other entrances have been sealed. One last test. The net can be closed using a long rope from a hideout on the floor. This is the moment everything depends on.
Then we'll take the boat here, passing through the hundreds of islands, and enter this bay. That's where we'll decide in which of the two cages we'll set them free. It'll depend on the weather, and especially on where a group was seen last.
It's essential that the two females connect with the group as soon as possible. To ensure this, the rangers have put up cages at two alternative sites. They're the last station before freedom.
When the monkeys have been caught in the cave, which will be the most crucial moment, they are to be taken here in boxes. Then they'll spend a few hours, or maybe a whole day in these cages to get used to their new environment. That's very important, because that way we can see if they're fit and move normally. We can't just bring the monkeys here, open the box and let them out. One of them could have accidentally injured itself, but let's hope not.
Is when we get all the fresh cut branches, big branches like that.
The rangers put leaves and twigs inside the cages, a safe haven for the two captured animals.
They make them might be uncomfortable, but I don't know. I mean, it's.
Then we'll have two extra females on the island that add an enormous genetic value to an insubstantial population. They have to reproduce. That's the reason for all this.
But there's still a long and dangerous road to go before the monkeys can join their kind. This, everyone involved realizes.
The real challenge is the other end. That's where the difficulty is capturing the animals, anaesthetising them, firing the dart into them, doing the examination, fitting the collars. All of that is the real challenge. If we get all that done and they wake up nicely in the cages, then we're fine.
The zoologists and veterinaries make the last preparations to capture the animals. Tension, concentration, everything is checked again and again. Australian veterinary Michael Lynn is the radio collar specialist.
When we immobilise the animals at the cave before we move them, when they're anaesthetised, we're going to put these tracking collars on each of the two animals. And now that's very important. It would also give us the opportunity to know whether they meet other groups, because we'll be able to find these animals, and if we find them, we may find they're with another group of animals, which would be wonderful.
The one with the most difficult job is Australian veterinary Larry Vogelnest. He has to sedate the langurs with a single shot from his blowpipe in the narrow confines of the cave.
We can't mimic the exact situation we're going to be faced with in the cave. Very different to this. Obviously, a confined space. I'll have to climb 15 metres up to get to the cave, first of all. So, and I'll have a harness and rope and all this kind of stuff. We have to get in through the net and settle down inside this fairly dark space. The langurs are not big animals, and the target area is probably only, maybe that much. And it can be dangerous if you hit them in the abdomen or the thorax, the chest, for example. Can be dangerous, not necessarily, but can be. You can damage an organ or break a bone or something like that if you don't get it in the right spot.
Jörg Adler joins the rangers on their patrol of the jungle. Patrols on water and on land are an important means in the fight against poaching. The rare langurs are a desirable catch. Most of the people who are protected area guards today used to hunt langurs themselves.
Catching langurs used to be very easy. You just set some traps on the trees. If a monkey got caught in the trap, his arm was held tight. Another possibility was to hunt them with rifles. That was the most dangerous way for the langurs. It endangered their numbers. With a rifle, you could kill 7 or 8 monkeys in one go. The animals only flee when several of them are killed. Otherwise, they come closer and watch. They're very peaceful.
The protected area guards know all the illegal hunting methods of the poachers, who are still around today. There's a lot of money to be made from these rare animals.
Perfect.
In the old days, the Chinese came and asked for langurs. They wanted them because it was said that the monkeys were very good for your health. Especially the bile was supposed to have great healing qualities for the eyes, and the bone marrow too was good for your health. They were said to have a great healing power.
The widespread belief in Asia in the miraculous healing power of exotic animals brought the Katbah langurs to the brink of extinction.
Wow.
To preserve the endangered population, a protected area was established. But it only exists on paper. Too attractive are the bays of the picturesque island world. Too indispensable the tourists as a source of income. Patrolling conservationists encountered entire armadas of pleasure boats, in the middle of the protected area.
It's the one. That's 25.
Another problem, not only industrial shrimp production, the local fishermen's floating fish and mussel farms enter the protected area more and more too, threatening the Katbar langurs habitat. The conservationists want to sensitize the local population. Only when the people of Katbar themselves take an interest in protecting and preserving their unique world can the survival of the Katbar langurs be secured. Beginning with the next generation, the project's employees launch specific information campaigns targeted at the children to get them interested in nature.
We believe that teaching and raising the awareness for the young on this island about the language and about the environment here, meaning that we can be sure about the future for the langur here, because we have a very long term on conservation of the langur here, and then when they grown up, they will continue our work, continue our course on protection of the langurs and the environment and the forest here.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Put it in the car.
It'd just be such a disaster if something goes missing.
The countdown for the critical stage of the resettlement is running. No one knows when the monkeys will show up or if they will come at all. A team has to stand guard in front of the cave in the jungle around the clock. Armed with provisions for a week, veterinary Larry and his Vietnamese escort set out into the jungle.
Larry?
Okay. We'll see you
Tomorrow, which langur? See you soon.
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning,
Okay,
which
see you.
langur?
See you, Lauren.
See you. Yeah. Larry,
Yes.
mission possible.
Mission possible. Yes, definitely.
The two of them are facing 5 days in the jungle of sitting in front of the cave every day from 2 p.m. until 6 a.m., waiting for the monkeys to come. And they have to sit quietly, keeping their distance. If the monkeys appear, the men have to spring the trap, and that would be it for them. But until the monkeys do, they have to come back every day and sit quietly. Evenings, when it gets dark, they move back a few yards to their small hideout. So this is what they're going to do for the next 5 days.
Now, everything depends on the two monkeys entering the prepared cave and getting caught in the trap.
We want Lan and Harry to call "The monkeys are in the cave" so that we can get started. That's what we'll be waiting for every night from about 6.
The second evening too, there's no sight of the monkeys. Hope of success is dwindling. For Jörg Adler, it means waiting. Then he receives an unexpected message. Some rangers assure him they saw a group of langurs with a newborn on their rounds. Hours before sunrise, the project leader sets out to check the report. The group was spotted in a bay that's accessible by boat.
They're on the strips of plants, among those bushes. In that elongated bush, there's some of them now. There are 2 down there, and they have a baby with them.
It's true. There's a female with a baby high up on the rock face. But such a birth happens too seldom to ensure the survival of the species.
It was said that a baby was born within this relatively large group of 10 langurs. But you can't really believe it until you've actually seen it, of course. But it was all true. We managed to observe mother and child for several minutes. That was a heavenly experience, of course, seeing this mother and her baby. A new baby in the group adds a little more security to the future of the langurs.
No relief-bringing signal from the guards by the trap yet. The scientists are slowly running out of time. Jörg Adler, who has been working in Asia for 30 years, suspects that rigorous Western planning could do with a little Far Eastern calm.
No, not everything.
And it can never do any harm to know that the local gods are on your side. The project leader resorts to some unconventional means to save the mission.
I'd like to use every available opportunity to do something to lure these two langurs into the cave. So I thought it'd be a good idea to visit a temple, a pagoda. It's customary in Vietnam to bring an offering. The ceremony requires certain utensils like flowers and fruits. A little change never goes amiss. There's yin and yang. I even got myself some joss sticks, hoping my offering would make the langurs enter the cave. I'm dying to see what happens.
And indeed, the gods have accepted the offering. Day X has arrived. After 5 years of preparation and nights of standing guard, the monkeys have been trapped. The local team members are convinced that it was Jörg Adler's offering that led to success. 3:10 a.m. The team gathers by the harbour, full of hopes and fears.
The scariest thing, of course, is the possibility of one of the animals dying during the translocation. This could be a real setback for the entire translocation, but that's the main thing that I'm concerned about. The other thing, of course, is the safety of all the participants involved.
Let's do it.
As the project manager, I feel responsible for all the primates, whether they're human or a monkey. And so those are the main things, really, is injury and possible death.
Operation Resettlement is underway. It's off to Dong Kong in motorboats.
We should also do a little...
Stopover at the ranger station. The last opportunity to go through the steps of the operation. Now we'll see if the years of preparation pay off. All important, sticking to the hygiene rules.
At all times? Now... Okay.
All those taking part in the operation had to have a medical checkup for the protection of the langurs, so no human germs could be carried on. They could kill the monkeys. Changing to small pirogues for the last stretch. It's too shallow for the motorboats here. Also on board, a mobile anesthesia and breathing apparatus to examine the animals.
See you. You should sit in the wall. In the middle, yes.
At last, the destination is reached. The foot of the cave in which the langurs were trapped. They've been inside the sealed cave for 12 hours, ever since Larry sprung the trap.
We were sitting under those bushes there. We were lying down, so there was the 4th day we've been doing it. For 4 hours we watched, and we didn't even think that they were going to come again. And about 4:10, just suddenly, They just turned up. And then about 5:30, 25 to 6, they decided into the cave, and they just went straight in the cave and they disappeared. And then we waited till about 10 to 6 till it was really dark before we closed it. So, but it was exciting, but also quite nervous, you know, to know that this was our only opportunity to catch them, and they could run out or something could happen, you know, the net could get caught, but it all worked very well, so it was very exciting.
Maybe once somebody's lights, they can shine their lights. Okay.
I'm the first one that has to go up the ladder and into the cave. I don't know what I'm going to meet. Well, I know there's going to be 2 langurs in the cave. How are they going to react to me? I've worked with animals all my life, in zoos and in the wild, but this is a peculiar situation. We're locking these 2 langurs in a cave for the first time ever in their life. Yes, we have reports from langur guards and langur hunters of what they think the langurs will do, but what I'm actually going to meet when I get up into that cave, I don't know.
Am I ready? Are you ready?
The bamboo ladder leads up almost vertically. No one knows what to expect up there and in what condition the 2 monkeys will be.
Said you were safe. Yep.
It all depends on how fast Larry can sedate the animals.
But Larry has to find a suitable shooting position in the cave first. I've no idea what the situation is in there. I guess the langurs will have crawled into the highest crack they could find. So Larry is going to have to try to hit them with his darts from the bottom of the cave. That may take a while. We don't want to cause any unnecessary stress or chaos. I think they'll be sitting up there quietly, so we're going to have to wait.
The rain is getting stronger. The men try to cover up the makeshift examining table. Michael is getting prepared to measure up the animals, take samples, and put on the radio collars.
This first tricky part is darting the animal. They can't actually see, and so they're trying to entice one of the animals out where they can see it with the pole. But we're aiming to just do 1 langur at a time, because if we did 2, that would be very, very tricky, because we'd be managing 2 anaesthetic procedures at the same time. Safer for the animals to do 1 at a time if we can manage it. But really it depends on what happens in the cave now, whether how they react.
There are problems in the cave.
They were way up in what we call the chimney, and they were stuck in a very small little crevice, like a crack. And so on the ground, Larry climbed up about 3 or 4 meters with Luan, so that he could get a shot at him with the blowpipe. And so all I really could see was maybe sometimes a tail or a foot.
Can you see them, Larry? Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Michael, gotta do both at the same time. Definitely have to do both. We have to do both at the same time.
Well, that makes it more difficult, because we've only got 1 anaesthetic machine, and maintaining that second monkey without any gas anaesthesia is going to be quite difficult. So we'll just try and manage. So I'll get ready for it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just guessing here, but I think he wants to immobilize both animals first. If one of them were to remain up there, it'd push itself into a corner, and it would be harder for him to get it. If both of them are together, it's easier for him to hit them with a dart.
Larry,
you just shoot another one? The same animal? Oh, okay. First dart went off, but it didn't, probably didn't get much drug into her at all.
The first animal was probably a little bit easier to dart because she was more aggressive and she kept on coming and looking out. And so it was a bit easier, but all I could see was the head and this chest here. So, you know, I'd planned to dart in the leg, but of course I couldn't even see the leg. So I was aiming for the arms, which are very small. And so it was difficult, but eventually I got enough drug into her. For me, it was you know, very challenging darting in that situation. Apart from the small target and that, I was 4 or 5 meters high up, and it was quite scary in a way because I a long way down if I fell down and that. So it was very interesting, difficult darting situation. Nothing like I've ever done before. So great experience.
So once the drug took effect and they actually fell asleep, they were basically well, the second one was a bit stuck, but the first one was basically on the shelf where we could barely reach her. And so it was difficult to kind of nudge her and pull her. We had a stick kind of prying her, and then we had a net. And so once Larry was able to get her to move, slide her off the shelf, we caught her in the net, and I was standing about a couple meters up, and I had the net, and then I got the net, lowered her to the ground, and then got her into the basket as quick as I could, made sure she was breathing, and then just lowered her down from the cave.
Okay, baby. Sneak in there. Let's sneak in there. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Larry, can you see? She looks good. On her side.
Just very slowly.
Slow.
That's good. Now, wait, lift up a bit. Lift up. Up.
Caught on the hook. Go up a bit, Rick.
The scientists will know presently whether the animals are healthy and able to fulfill the conservationists' hopes.
First time I stood here was 3 years ago. I was just reminded of that. At the time I didn't think this would actually work one day. But we did think about how to get to the cave and how to seal it. Now we're here, and the whole thing is underway. That's very satisfying for the moment. We'll have to wait and see how the procedure pans out, of course. But for today, it's a really great start.
A unique moment. For the first time ever, a wild cat bar, Langur, is being scientifically examined. Jörg Adler and the Australian veterinaries take blood and tissue samples and measure up the monkeys. Particular care must be taken to prevent human germs from being passed on to the monkeys. A makeshift lab in the middle of the jungle. An especially tricky assignment, fitting the radio collars.
The collar has a so-called predetermined breaking point that will activate after about 1.5 to 2 years. Then the collar will fall off, so the langur won't have to go about with it for the rest of his life.
The transmitter will help the scientists locate the animals in the wild. It's the only way for them to find out if the 2 langurs have hooked up with the main population.
You ready?
The team's main concern now is, have the animals survived the strains of their capture unharmed?
And on a side,
I'm totally relieved now because the most critical moment after an anesthetic is waking up. Michael controlled the anesthetic perfectly, but in these circumstances, it's all much more complicated than it is in a clinic. We managed to get all the necessary samples. Everything worked like a charm. Now she's waking up. She's lying here in the box and has yawned 2 or 3 times wholeheartedly. I think the whole thing was very successful. And now we're waiting for the next langur. This is probably the mother, so now it's the daughter's turn. At least that's what we presume from the color of her teeth and other characteristics.
Everything goes according to plan with the second langur as well. A first analysis of the teeth confirms that this is the younger of the 2 females. Mother and daughter set out on their travels in separate boxes. The jungle path back to the boats once more demands everything from Jörg Adler and his team. The rain has made the razor-sharp rocks dangerously slippery.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You go.
Okay, let me hold it with you. I'll hold it.
I'll go to
The small pirogues are waiting by the waterfront, ready to receive their valuable cargo.
Good vet assistant, good Kerry.
Okay. Thank you for the compliment.
Catching the animals has been successful, but the team realizes the consequences that success or failure of this entire operation may have.
This relatively small step for the langurs is a big step for species conservation, because we obviously realize that the worldwide community of species conservation is watching this island and us. What are they doing? Will it work? It's a whole new method that we all could and should implement. But it also means it's a major responsibility for us. That's why we prepared everything minutely. At the same time, it's meant as an appeal for all. Do something. Even considering the huge effort it took, and not knowing whether these 2 females even want to have babies, it just shows people how important it is. It's us, people, who force species near the brink of extinction. And this is our last chance. Help us all. So not only Katba and the langurs, but also all animals and all endangered species worldwide will have a future.
The future for the 2 captured langurs lies in the protected area on the other side of the island. The veterinaries recap the past few hours. All data will later be incorporated in an extensive report. Now, Jörg Adler can finally take a deep breath. The veterinaries continuously check the condition of the animals to ensure they arrive in good health. Now for the last stage. The boat ride from Dong Kong Island to the protected area on Cat Ba takes 2 hours. A last stopover at the floating ranger station. Although everyone is exhausted, they have to move on. They quickly go through the details of the animal's release again.
Yeah, so we just asked them if the langurs are still near the first site.
I don't think they'll freak out in the cage either. I think they would just adapt, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, So why don't we...
Let's go.
We should,
Time's a
we should
wasting.
get them out there,
Yeah.
put them in the... We're
In the
going to
cage.
put them in the cage,
Yeah.
and then we'll see how they react.
How they react.
And then...
In the afternoon, the boats carrying the langurs arrive at the bay that will be the animals' new home.
Can you hand one up here, over this way?
It all comes down to releasing the monkeys safely into their new life. Are the animals safe and sound? Did they survive their capture, anesthesia and transport unharmed? Will they accept their new environment?
Have you got that side, Rick?
24 hours after the two langurs were captured in the cave, the grand finale.
Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
The monkeys seem to be in great condition. Inquisitively, they explore their strange surroundings.
They look, yeah, they're fully awake for sure.
Fully awake.
And they're more agitated than I expected them to be. Yeah, but
The conservationists abandon their original plans.
Go.
Unless they really start to freak out.
The culmination of the entire day's effort is we're actually going to release them into the sanctuary. There's been some debate as to when we first started this, we were planning on releasing them immediately. And then later on we thought, well, maybe it'll be better if we release them the following day, simply because we weren't sure if they would have all of the drug out of their system. They might still be a little punch drunk. And also it would give them more time to find a place to sleep for the night. But the way they look now, they're just so active, and the whole place here is a smorgasbord for them. So certainly the few leaves that we put in there, we're not even sure if they're the correct ones that they need to eat. So they know better what they want to eat. So we're thinking that we're probably just going to release them into the sanctuary now. We're going to unlock the lock and swing the door open and set them free. Okay, ladies. The ladies of Dong Kong Island.
You open the door.
Five long years of preparation and many tense hours, and now the great happy end. Both doors were opened, and mere minutes later the two langurs were outside, off into the forest. They will really feel at home here. We're all totally happy and relaxed. And what can I say? It's absolutely wonderful.
Es ist traumhaft schön.